Alright. Alright. Everything's settled. Everything's settled. Everything's settled. Everything's settled, y'all. So I got everything settled. Let's get directly into this. This is Naruto the Unwanted Sage Part 5. Let's get directly within this video. Naruto POV. A white flame stood in between Haku and Naruto, with Itachi drop kicking from the sky, bringing his leg towards the ground. Around 5 minutes earlier, an hour earlier, Naruto, since you have a new member on your team, you will be demonstrating your power and demonstrating their power by simply making a video, by simply adding, no, by simply testing which Haku knows the best and how she can improve and how does it best serve to help your team. You shall be going to training ground 9. Train there. Now to the current moment. The white flame shot towards Haku as Haku then quickly entered into her ice sage mode. With Naruto's white flame, by the way, his head's completely as in the picture. So he's not in his sage mode. His white flame consumed Haku's ice barrier, completely melting it. With not like regular. Even the evaporation once after the melting process quickly pushed away from Naruto. Haku lied on the ground, breathing heavily. As Naruto smirked, I know what you're good for. You're heavy. You're heavy tanked. You're my weapon, Naruto said with a smirk on his face. As then, he began to pump Haku with nature energy of ice, the ice nature energy, which made her power go up by almost 100-fold. Of course, since I haven't trained within the Ice Sage mode, I have yet to learn its true power. But this is the best I can give you. Sorry. As the best that I can give you. Now trying to attack me. Then Haku raised up her hand as ice began to shoot from her hand. Instead of with the normal amount she was aiming for was to be a barrage of Senbon. But to her surprise, it was massive arcs the size of a human body. This is the true power of mere enhancement of the Sage mode. Let me show you, Naruto said. Since I've never ever used my true sage mode, he said, ever. I've only used it for training. And then he lifted up his hand. This is around how much I regularly use, which is around 5% of my sage mode. As then the white pale flame grew to massive heights. It was as large as the sun. The air evaporated near the magnificent flame. That's the true power of my technique. I create a miniature sun, but without any impurities, making it as hot as if you were directly in front of the sun. He said, the sun is full of impurities, while my flame, its power is unparalleled. In fact, I'll show you a technique of the sage mode, which is overwhelmingly powerful. I struggle to control it after I've used this technique, Naruto said, as then he lifted up his hand. As a tiny red flame appeared. Because of how powerful this technique is, I can only use the weakest version of flame. Otherwise, the whole entire planet would be engulfed in my power, he said, as then that single flame floated from his hand as it touched the ground. Then the flame began to burst in size. As Haku then noticed something. Without the flame even being near it, even remotely close to the range of its heat, objects seem to lose color or deflate, and some trees even fell down. The flame continuously consumes the power of everything around it, making it an eternal flame, with the only thing being able to put it out is complete darkness with nothing. It won't stop until the world is devoured. The only way to stop it truly is to give it no power to feed on. That's where my technique comes in. My third technique, which works perfectly for my second two techniques. Perfect cage. As then a large box appeared and seemingly wrapped around the flame. As then the box shut down completely, showing nothing there. Complete eradication. Anything within my box, no matter how strong, is instantly devoured and used to give me more power. more and more power. So much power, in fact, that my sensei, died once I practiced that move, Naruto said, as a tear fell from his eye. His final tear. Before blood began to burst out of his eyes from everywhere as his vision began to fade as he yelled out in bursts of screams as his screams became louder. The Nine Tails POV. Stupid kid. I've told him once he uses the perfect cube, he focuses all of his power towards it, which means once I even disrupt the rejuvenative flames that are behind his eye sockets for even a second, they can explode, he said with a smirk. As he was saving up enough power to disrupt the flow, that subconscious flow of rejuvenated flames were the only things that allowed you to survive. What are you gonna do now, kid? You have the same problem as Itachi, and you can't use the rejuvenated flames anymore because your eyes, they completely make up your entire also Susuke blood. Which means that you can't rejuvenate them. Otherwise, they'll come out weaker than the former. The only thing that you can do is use that. But since I've taken your eyes away, you can't use that, he said with a smirk on his face. Now all I have to do is take over your body. Itachi's POV. He saw his pretty much friend just face explode with blood. So he was pretty much like on that case, but he was fearful since Naruto was yelling out like the Nine Tails loud as fuck. Yeah, but this is more like a beastly roar, basically. Itachi's POV. Yeah, Itachi's POV. He looked at his best friend as blood began to spatter everywhere. Naruto's POV. How could I allow this to happen? I've completely lost 90% of my power. My eyes have betrayed me. So I must. The only thing I can do is create them, he said, as he had created the technique that he had kept away from the Nine Tails in case of that would happen. In case that would happen. But I will be incapacitated for around 3 years. This technique is powerful, but if he he said as then he began to create white flames around him that began to devour the planet's energy. That should cut the time down to only 3 hours at most. But if I completely miscalculated, it should be around 7 weeks, which is close to around 2 months. I'll be good, he said, as then white flames began to burst out of his eye sockets, completely enveloping them. The ray of bright light shined with power, which glimmered, radiating strength in his will. The true power that I hold. 100% Sage Mode, he yelled out as his hair became white and his tail's white. His skin paled and his nails sharpened. His clothes began to burn off. My full power. I have to sacrifice 90% of my Sage Mode's current energy to do this. Since my 100% Sage Mode is my lifeline, basically. He said, remembering something. Since we have a small flashback. Fugaku Uchiha's room. Fugaku Uchiha. Naruto's body completely set ablaze. As then, Naruto smirked. You know, at first I used this ability to completely rebirth myself. I even got a tail with my rebirth. But I think with my rebirth, I want to become stronger than ever. So, with my rebirth, I shall claim the highest seat of the order. My power surpasses all. Then, Naruto dropped towards the ground, his body still set ablaze. Then, flames began to shoot towards Haku. Haku began to run away, but eventually the flames sped up towards her speed as it hit her. Then she began to exclaim that Naruto will be back up and running within 2 weeks, if not longer. Around 2 weeks later, we're gonna get a picture of Naruto being OP. This is great. Now we have Vision, Naruto's awakening. Around around 4 months later, a massive amount of flames began to engulf the area around Naruto, with a beam protruding into the sky. This beam was purely made out of white flames. Every Akatsuki member ran towards the event, eventually spotting Naruto. His Akatsuki robe on him, his tails no longer visible. His headband scratched Konoha. His eyes no longer blue, more of a silverish blue, with the Akatsuki, the Akatsuki cloak, but with a bit, a, a bit, a few upgrades basically. His nails colored black, to better disguise within the night. His collar popped. Yeah, fuck Naruto, that good boy shit. Naruto's power radiated as everyone felt it. This is Naruto Uzumaki speaking, he said with a smirk on his face. All of this power, where did it come from? He said to himself as he looked at his body. He felt truly like God. Everyone got view of him. Within the 4 months, Haku and Itachi trained vigorously. With Haku's training, she went from a B rank ninja to an S rank shinobi who far surpassed that of Dadora and Sasori, who could basically, if she fought Keisame, she could box him like a flopper. Like, literally grab onto his face, throw him into the ground, kick him in the nuts, then just stomp on him. Pain. She has that type of power now. Naruto's POV. Haku walked out, looking towards Naruto. Perfect, he said, as his Sharingan eyes had permeated with his blue eyes, for some reason creating silver eyes with the abilities of the Mangekyo Sharingan and the Sharingan. Also, his tails had completely become invisible, so he could swat you down in a matter of seconds. The Nine Tails cage. The Nine Tails finally woke up, had awoken after 4 months. Has already been 12 years. Seemed like a little bit of time, but finally what? As then he looked around to see he was still stuck in a cage. Damn, that damn brat must have used it. But how? He didn't have his eyes. Simple. I didn't use it. My secrets, I'd keep them, even if you could see through my eyes. Once you go to sleep, I have the ability to train like no one's business. That paired with the shadow clone jutsu gives me the abilities of that of a training god, Naruto said. Now, for your punishment. You're hereby sentenced to death by Sharingan. Just kidding. You hate my eyes so much, and you hate the fact that my clan has taken your power. Well, he said, as then his Sharingan eyes looked up at the cage, as the cage then began to seemingly wrap around Kurama, and the cage changed its form, looking different. It looked better. Kurama then got pulled towards the ground. As then, chains began to wrap around him, completely tying him down. This is the point where you die, Naruto said. You'll die of anger. And you'll know that the moment that you decided to betray Sharingan I, Naruto, was your last moment free. As then, the cage began to protrude. As a piece of the cage began to protrude out, creating a large circle. Within the middle of it was the handprint. Now, because of the fact that basically Naruto changed the seal, he modified the seal pretty much 2 levels that were unmatched. His modification of the seal allowed him to instantly bring pain to the Nine Tails while pulling chakra from him. And with a single thought, he could bring pain to the Nine Tails, giving him ultimate control. The Nine Tails POV. I'm losing all control, he said. You see, you are a vessel. You're not actual chakra. You have a physical form, Naruto said. All I have to do is use my genjutsu to, instead of delay reality, to reveal your true form. And all I have to do is separate your true body from your power, giving one side of you to me, as then a large power began to pull away from Kurama as the cage tightened and tightened until all of Kurama's chakra disappeared as he shrunk into with the original Kurama. As then, Naruto created a different cage. All of this power belongs with me. With this cage, All I have to do is look at the power, and I gain it, more and more of it. Minato then appeared, kicking Naruto's hand. What are you? As then he looked around, seeing the cage and what was in it. As he then looked over to see a large cave. Oh, isn't it my deadbeat father? Literally. As then he touched his father's head. You're funny, you know. I've always hated you. Die. As a matter of fact, I'll convert your chakra into flames, he said. As he converted the rest of Minato's chakra into flames, which burned around Kurama's cage. Now, Kushina won't be able to speak to Naruto, since Minato was the way to Naruto, basically. And we then go towards the real world. Naruto's smirk grew. I'm back! And that's it in this video. Make sure that y'all like, subscribe, and I made this video especially good for the fans. Maybe comment down below how you feel about the video. What do you think is cool, whether it's good, whether you think I should make some improvements towards the story, because I know at one point in time I said that Naruto was friends with Kurama, but that was pretty much Kurama trying to take advantage of him to take control over his body, which resulted in what happened. Bye guys, my phone is about to go dead.